Africa Business News, proudly sponsored by EY.
Coming up on Africa Business News, Uganda's cabinet gets reshuffled, implications of the South African finance minister's budget speech, and Ghana closes deal with the IMF. Stay tuned.
Africa, it is huge, it is diverse, and its business landscape fascinating and dynamic. And that's our business here on your favorite weekly African business stop. We're joined by Bonnie Tunya in Nairobi. In Lagos, we're joined by Christy Cole Popola, and I'm coming to you from Cape Town, where I'm also joined later on by Svetlana Doneva. This is Africa Business News, and my name is Victor Humweswan. Bonnie, out of Nairobi in Kenya, we start with the East African story. In Uganda, President Museveni reshuffling his cabinet, particularly getting rid of his Attorney General and Finance Minister. What's the story there?
Well, Victor, thanks. This is obviously a very big story in East of Africa, and Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni on Sunday reshuffled his cabinet, notably in the list, and I bet what most Ugandans are talking about is the appointment of the new Deputy for Planning Ministry, David Bahati, who is among the architects of the 1999 bill that included tough sentences, including death penalty for active homosexuals. Well, the reshuffle, which was announced at the weekend, Victor, was perhaps President Museveni's clear indication of his plans for 2016, and Deputy Interior Minister Matia Kasaija replaced Maria Kiwanika as the Finance Minister. Retired Army General Jim Muhwezi was appointed Information Minister, as Mary Karoro Orukut is the Security Minister. Her predecessor Muruli Mukasa is the Gender and Youth Minister, and John Biagambi Works and Transport Minister. Now, Victor, this announcement has been greeted by a lot of criticism, especially from the opposition and members of the civil society.
But also the regional issues, Bonnie, East African community, Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, and Tanzania, striking a deal with the United States to lower trade barriers. Update us on what the situation is there.
Well, this has been greeted with a lot of optimism. The United States and 5 East African countries have pledged to increase the trade flows and set the stage for more U.S. involvement and investment in the region, a program that could be extended to other parts of Africa if it's successful here. Well, Victor, the agreement commits Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi to cooperate with the United States in custom issues to ease the red tape at borders and reduce customs wait times and harmonize trade standards. And this is as part of the deal which has been in the works since 2013. And Washington will provide training on food safety, animal and plant health standards, and international relations, Victor. It is also worth noting that Kenya and the U.S. have been in talks to reopen a direct flight between the two countries, and obviously in a bid to push a lot of trade in the region. And perhaps also what is driving them is China's rapid entry into Africa that has fueled a rush into the continent by Western and other economies, including India and Brazil. And the region's economy has grown more than 6% in the last decade. So, Victor, everyone is going for the East African markets. The Americans have decided to come in strongly.
It's encouraging, though, to see the region is getting itself organized and striking deals as a bloc rather than as individual countries. Thank you very much, Bonnie Tunya, coming to us from Nairobi. Stay with me. I'm in Cape Town, scenic Cape Town, I must add. We are back with Svetlana Doneva after this. The Minister of Finance in South Africa, Nhlanhla Nene, announcing his budget last week with very little room to do anything else but raise taxes. Svetlana, it doesn't look like the minister had any much choice, but luckily he left the VAT alone.
Yeah, he did. That's very true, Victor. The minister had so little breathing room in this budget. He's sitting with a very big government deficit, and he has estimated that deficit to be 3.9% of GDP for this coming year, which is really at its top limit.
It's unfamiliar territory, but talk to me about what the business community is saying about this budget.
So the business community is on the whole happy with the budget. It was a boring budget, there was no big surprises, but they are happy with the minister's efforts in raising economic growth, declining the deficit and capping government expenditure. Now he has put a cap on government expenditure, and he has also chosen to tax the wealthier members of society. And that is actually the reason why VAT wasn't touched, because that is a protection on the poor. So on the wealthier side of the constituency of South Africa, we've got an increase on personal income tax, and we've got an increase on property transfer duties. So that is something which I suppose the business community feels it's fair. Another concern, of course, is South Africa's credit rating. It's sitting just above junk.
Yeah.
And I think that the credit ratings, Standard & Poor's, for example, has come out saying that they're happy with the budget. They can see the efforts that are being taken, and they're confident that the minister should be able to get us within that comfortable band of government deficits.
And then another geopolitical issue in Southern Africa, Lesotho holding elections. You remember Tom Tabane there surviving the coup attempt. Luckily, it looks like the elections went off peacefully.
Yeah, they did. The elections were actually meant to take place in 2017. They were pushed forward to this year, and that took place on Saturday. And the reason for that, of course, is the political turmoil that the country is facing, the failed political coup. Now, the elections themselves went off peacefully. Military behaved themselves. There were no demonstrations, no violence. At this stage, the final results are not in. We're still waiting for 2 constituencies to be counted. But at this stage, Thomas Tabane's ABC party is sitting with 40 seats in Parliament. His main competitor, which is the former Prime Minister, they're sitting with 33 seats.
Yeah.
If they get the remaining 4 seats, they're going to be 37, and that's actually a little bit less than they had before.
Now that's Svetlana Doneva here in Cape Town joining me for the Southern African region. Stay tuned. We are joined by Christy Cole Popola after the break. Christy Cole, I thought the Ebola story was behind us. Already Sierra Leone was about to get back to normal. But the saddest thing coming up, the vice president himself infected and in quarantine. Is that true, and what's the situation at the moment?
Although President Koroma recently lifted travel restrictions in order to stimulate economic activity when Ebola figures initially plummeted in January, he has since reimposed those restrictions. New measures to curb Ebola in Sierra Leone will include a nighttime ban on all boats and on all commercial vehicles offloading goods in western areas. Remember that after recording drastically reduced figures in January, Ebola came back through the sea, dead fishermen on boats. Now 60 to 80 new cases are reported weekly.
Well, that's not the way we like to hear the Ebola story panning out. But after months of talks, Ghana has finally clinched this $1 billion 3-year deal with the IMF. But it looks like not everybody is impressed, especially Fitch, which thinks that the 3-year turnaround plan for the economic recovery of Ghana is ambitious. What is the state of play there, Christy Cole?
No doubt, this bailout is considered necessary for the restoration of investor confidence in Ghana's struggling economy, which is also hampered by crippling electricity blackouts. Now, based on the deal, the IMF will provide Ghana with loans worth about $940 million in installments beginning from April, with a short-term priority to stabilize Ghana's economy and, of course, make markets react more positively. But then Ghana has a tough job ahead implementing the austerity measures the IMF wants, which include a likely increase in fuel prices following an imposition of a 17% petroleum tax, and of course an end to costly energy subsidies, and then a freeze on hiring public sector workers. The IMF now expects inflation in Ghana to fall to between 11% and 12% by the end of the year. Growth is expected to come in at 3.5% in 2015 and then expected to rise to between 5% and 6.5% in 2017.
And of course, you're talking energy in Ghana, but in Nigeria, I've seen those queues before in Lagos at petrol stations with power outages on the one side and shortage of petrol. What is the situation? What's going on in Nigeria? It's going to leave a lot of people stranded, as I know it.
Absolutely, some conflicting issues there among downstream marketers and the regulatory body. Now, here is what. 3 months ago, Nigeria experienced fuel scarcity. This current one has lasted for about a week now, from Abuja, the capital, to Lagos, and is fast spreading across the country. The key issues appear to be subsidy payment. Recall that Nigeria slashed fuel pump price in January by 10 naira as a result of reduced government subsidy on the back of sliding oil prices globally. Apparently, the government has been owing a backlog of subsidy payments payments to fuel marketers. This has gotten in the way of fuel imports, as banks have also halted financing due to the backlog of payments owed by marketers. So, of course, it's a circle. The oil sector regulator, that's the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, which recently promised increased supply of injecting about 688 million of petroleum motor spirit, the PMS, into the market, is now blaming retail outlets for the scarcity, claiming many are hoarding the product, and says that the trucks distributing fuel as palliative measures across the country are still on their way. Motorists have now resorted to black markets, where roadside petrol sellers now sell the commodity for about 3 to 4 times the original price.
And that brings us to the stock pick, where we put Bonnie Tunya and Christy Cole-Popola on the spot to tell us where they would put their money as investors in their regions. And we also do the trivia of the week on Africa Business News. And at this point, we put Bonnie Tunya and Christy Cole-Popola on the spot. $10,000 I have to invest, the two of you, in your region. Which stock do you recommend I should put my money in, and why? Let's start with you, Christy Cole.
I'm still putting my money on Zenith Bank this week. Now, although it is currently trading at 17 Naira, a rally is expected soon. Also, there is so much trust about it being the first bank to release results in Nigeria. Auditors complete as we speak, and regulatory filings will be done to the central bank also this week. The third quarter results were particularly impressive, and that reinforces projections of profit sustenance by the end of the year. Also, it has a good capital buffer and so will not be affected by new regulations on dividend payment.
And yet again is a banking stock out of Lagos, Nigeria. What about you, Bonnie Tunya, in Nairobi, Kenya?
Well, Victor, my stock pick for this week will still be in the banking sector. I'll bet not KCB. Everyone is talking about their impressive results. I'll go for Cooperative Bank because, I mean, they've been on a steady run. They're up 2.25%. They're in a sector that is really picking up. And they seem to have a focus of strategy, unlike the other banks that have widely diversified. They seem to be having to stick to their potential clients and their traditional clients that have been. And so really my stock for the week will go to Cooperative Bank of Kenya.
Well, there's financial stocks out of both East and West Africa. We move to the quiz, the trivia of the week here on Africa Business News. I put you again, Bonnie and Christy Cole, on the spot. March the 3rd is celebrated as Martyrs' Day in which Southern African country? I can't give you any more clues than that.
Martyrs' Day, that will have to be Malawi.
Malawi, the landlocked uranium-producing economy in Southern Africa, traditionally, originally called Nyasaland, is celebrating its Martyrs' Day on March the 3rd for the lives that were sacrificed in the struggle against the United Kingdom, of course, the colonial rule of those days gone by, until they achieved their independence on July 6th in 1964. Yes, of course, we thank our colleagues in Nairobi, Bonnie Tunya, and in Lagos, Christy Cole-Popola, and of course from here in Cape Town earlier on, Svetlana Doneva. And that's the show on Africa Business News this week, folks. Stay tuned to CNBC Africa. Cheers.